We don't have much material here that we can stretch this finger out, so we're gonna have to work with it the way that it is here. This is a lot of finger left over, and I will show you how I'm going to do this. You're gonna oblong the hole if you stretch from this side. See that? How it turns into more of an oval? So we wanna start over here and get that into place. Get that as close to lined up in the circle as possible. How's it going? My name is Brent from Encore PPF and Tint, and today we are going to be working on the front bumper of a Honda Accord. So this is a 2023 Honda Accord. We're gonna go ahead and install paint protection film on this. We're gonna use the kit cut out with Core, exactly how it is in the computer. So this is something I rarely do because I'm at least always eliminating parking sensors. I mean, that's just a standard. Immediately go in and delete those, install the kit, and then I cut those out by hand because we're never quite sure if the alignment is gonna be perfect, or I also don't want to have to stretch to those and use those as a tack point. I want to be able to stretch, you know, to wherever else on the edges that I need to stretch to. And so I just come back and trim those by hand. And so we'll go over how to work with a kit when you're installing them with those parking sensors cut out. So you make sure and use those as a tack point and get those lined up incredibly well, and how to stretch around these. We're also gonna go over that today because you don't wanna stretch the material and have that turn into an oblong hole, so basically an oval. You want that to be a nice circle around there so it stays very uniform. This is gonna be a beginner tutorial. I mean, this could also be for other people as well, but we're gonna get very detailed, like every step. Also today I have a ton of soap, a ton of slip inside, or a ton of soap in my slip. So we're gonna stay very slippery, and we're gonna need to use a lot more rubbing alcohol then, or tack solution, to stretch to certain points, and then use those tack points. We're gonna need to put a lot of tack solution in those. And this will probably be a little bit closer to how a lot of people run their slip solution. I like to stay really tacky so that I can kind of stretch into place and then basically have it stick down just with my hands and then squeegee everything out. But today that's not going to work for the most part. We have you know, a lot of soap in there, so it's going to be a lot more tack used. All right, terrific. So let's get moving. All right, let's get our pattern. So when you're taking these kits off the wall, you really want to watch for areas that are going to get caught up or snagged on the material, and you don't want to leave stuff on here that's going to could potentially tear, like little corners like this. This one won't be such a big deal because we are going to be pulling this direction, so that will come off really easily, but I'm going to go ahead and pull this back and just do that anyway. And then when you're pulling this back, this spot right here will catch because this is further this direction. And so I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up and pre-wet that down as well. And then let me grab my keg here. Since I'm using this other keg, the hose is like, I don't know, 10 feet shorter, maybe? At least minimum 5 feet shorter. So it's a lot shorter. It's not reaching over here anyway. So this here, because when we pull this direction, this part's gonna come off, and then it could catch right there, and because that's such a sharp angle, it could definitely tear the material very easily right there. So we're gonna go ahead and pull this back and wet that down as well. And then now as we pull this direction, this whole piece is gonna be stuck. And so we wanna go ahead and pull this back and wet this down as well. This is super slippery. I can already feel that it just eliminates the stickiness of the adhesive. All right, let's get this off of here now. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'll start over here, and we'll just wet everything down. We want the adhesive all good and wet down so that it doesn't, you don't want anything, you wanna wet this down as soon as it comes off, because if it happens to like flip over and stick to itself, adhesive side to adhesive side, when it's dry, it's going to be a real problem. All right, we'll go ahead and lay this on here now. So I'm going to start over here, set this into place. Okay, great. Bring this down, come across. That all looks like it's staying on there pretty well. I would have expected, because of the soap content in here, that to start slipping off already, but it's doing really well, so that is good news. A lot of times, I mean, it's super slippery though, but a lot of times the paint when it's brand new is really tacky, so that can definitely, that's gonna help with the amount of soap that I have in this slip solution today. All right, yeah, I mean, as you can see, it was already kind of running down. Let's go ahead and get this pulled back. We need to bring the pattern back this way a little bit so that we can get all this lined up right here. Okay, so that, okay, so it is, oh yeah, it's just wanting to come right off the car. Look at that side slipping down now. This is a lot of soap. Stay, nope. All right. Yeah. All right, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead, I'm just gonna tack this corner a little bit there. That way that quits coming off, because that's just gonna be a headache. Okay, this is really soapy. So if you run real soapy, this video is gonna be helpful to show you, you know, where to use the Tack solution and how to work like that. This isn't something that I do very often because I don't like the material moving around so much. So I'm just gonna tack that down too right now, so that way these can fall down. Now, if you were, you know, if the kit, I mean, obviously if the car's on the ground, the chances are if this falls off, it's gonna hit the ground. So you'd wanna make sure that this doesn't fall off either by getting a little spot tacked down. Okay, and then what we're gonna wanna do is get this lined up pretty good right here. Just this needs to come over just a little bit, so we're not stretching this into place right now. We're just lining this up. Okay, and then we'll kind of keep an eye. Just make sure that everything is fairly lined up. We want to get this fairly lined up and just get this right into place here. We want to look at this when it rolls over and make sure that we're not running into the grill, the black plastic here. Okay, that's looking really good. So we're gonna go ahead and make that our starting point right here. Let's see if we can come up just a little bit more. And then we are gonna have to stretch down because we're gonna need some extra material here. So, but we'll worry about that in a moment. So for now, we're gonna call that a good starting spot. And we'll go ahead and get some tack in here, because otherwise this really isn't going to want to stick down. All right, grab my squeegee here, double check this. Everything's looking really good. I'm going to go ahead and stick that corner down, and then we'll kind of pull away from that. Looking good. Okay, so that corner is tacked down. Now let's go ahead and find our next tack point. Now this hole is lining up great, so that's even way better than I could have imagined that would be. So this kit was cut out using Encore, if I didn't mention that already. And we're going to need to bring this down just a little bit just to get that right in the middle. So not much stretching. I think that this hole around this could definitely be a little bit smaller to match the circle better. I mean, it's a little bit big. I mean, that's what, like an 1/8 or a 1/16 of an inch all the way around. That's a pretty big opening. But, you know, for if you're installing kits, then, I mean, that's pretty good. But if I was hand cutting that, I would be cutting that much closer. Okay, now that that's in place, there, let's go ahead and get rid of some of this here, the moisture, and we'll just work our way down to this body line here. And then eventually here we're going to get to going over the top, and this finger is, we're going to have to work with that, and that's not much of a finger. That's not going to be a problem. But, you know, there's nowhere that we're going to be able to stretch in order to help get rid of that, because we need this to be lined up into place really well. Got a little finger here popping up next to this parking sensor, so let's go ahead and get a little bit more tack solution in there. Get that pushed down. Great. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and work our way around here, and there's definitely going to be some stretching necessary. let's go ahead and get this stretched into place now. So because we're going to be stretching this and we want this to stick and we've got a lot of soap in there, we are going to need to add tack solution in here on this edge, because we want to be able to tack this down. And what I'm going to do is hold over here where I'm not holding directly in the tack solution. Now if you see this little mark right here, this is going to go over the edge and hang over to this top part, and then this little corner is going to go right there. So let's make that go into place, and then let's double check here. Everything seems to be lining up really well. Not much of a stretch, so that's nice. And we'll go ahead and squeegee all that out. So we've basically got everything from here over tacked into place. And now what we need to do here is take a look at what we're going to need to do this way. And then we'll wait to squeegee this down until we get this stuff in place. So right here you can see that this kit needs to come down just the tiniest bit so that this lines up. So I'm just going to hold it right there. I put just a tiny bit of stretch on it, and then we're going to go ahead and tack that down. Great. Now let's take a look down here. So you can see we need some more here, and this is not lining up. So we need to bring this pattern basically down and back this way. So let's pull this back. And what we're going to want to do is get some tack solution probably right in this area here. So what I'm going to do is put my hand right here, and I'm going to push back until I'm getting really close to that edge, and then I'm going to come over here with just my other hand and check how I'm doing right here. So that's lining up really good along here and around the bottom and around the turn now. So let's finish getting this part into place here, all the way down. And then we're going to go ahead and reach under our hand, tack that down right where the alcohol was, or the tack solution. There's quite a bit of tension on this now, and that's fine. We're just going to have to get some tack in there to get that to stay down. Look at that, a little something came out from somewhere there. So let's get that picked out. So once I do pick something out, that came out on my finger, so it's right there. Spray my finger off, and then I'll spray that down. Okay, now what I'm going to go ahead and do is check this edge, and then we're going to go ahead and squeegee this out. Now it's important, so this part I'm just going to let hang over here for now. But it's important that we don't try to drag this soapy water here through any of the material that's already been stuck down with the tack solution. So let's go ahead and bring this stuff away from an area that we tack down with the tack solution, away from an area that we tack down with the tack solution, and then we can go ahead and take it down. We also don't want to pull anything through here, because what that's going to do is that's going to cause us to leave like water and air pockets potentially right here on this corner if you try to pull through there. And if you do get this soapy water to pull through like an area that's been tacked down with the rubbing alcohol, what you're going to leave is a snail trail, and it's basically just a bunch of little crescent moon looking lines where the material pops up and you pull that moisture through. So we don't want that. Okay, go ahead and bring this on down. So we know that we're tacked down here, so we'll come down as far as we can, and then we'll take this out this direction and back. So lots of good pressure when I'm making sure that, when I'm squeegeeing this out, I'm using lots of good pressure at this point because the material is in place. And it's tacked down with the alcohol, or I keep calling it alcohol, but that's what's in it, rubbing alcohol, right, in the tack solution. But I just got used to doing that over the years, and then when I heard people calling it tack solution, it's been hard to switch over to that entirely. we always call it alcohol mix. That's back from 2004 when I started paint protection film. It's just, yesterday basically. Okay, so now we've got all that in place. We're going to go ahead and stretch across here now. So we're going to pull this back to eliminate any pre-tacking. We're going to go ahead and wet that down. Now, the positioning here that we know that we're going to need for this is that we need to bring this over far enough to go right in there. So that's the stretching we're going to need. And I'm going to go ahead and kind of grab right here. All of our stretching really needs to be in this area here in order to get rid of these fingers so that that will lay down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stretch to right here, because that's going to be the best way to tell if this line here is looking really good and lined up, then we know we've got good placement on the film. So that's going to be our next stretch point where we're going to stretch to. So let's get some tack solution in that part. Get our squeegee ready, and we will stretch this over and into place. So we want that to lay down nicely there. The other thing that you can do here, so that's laying in pretty well, but we are a little high here. So what we can do is grab this film here and pull down on this a little, and then hold that with our thumb, and that will help us keep this right in place while we squeegee some of this out. So we can pull down here to get rid of these little fingers and just go ahead and squeegee that out. Let's get some more tack in here. Get this to stay stuck down, because we're going to need to make some adjustments here, because as you pull this, the film is naturally going to want to come up. But we can't have that here, because we're going to be running into the black plastic, and that's just making more work for ourselves for something to trim, as well as that'll eliminate some of our coverage down here on the bottom. This type of stuff here is also going to start tacking up pretty quickly because of all the tight stretch right there. But because we have so much soap, we're going to be in good shape. We just want to keep that in mind. We might need to pull the film back if we're running a bit more tacky and get some more slip in this area in order to be able to tug down on this. So now we're looking really good. We've got a good line there, just a tiny little gap right up against that plastic. And let's go ahead then and squeegee all this part out. Okay, and the rest of this here we'll take up, and then below that we'll take down. So I went ahead and just did along the face here. And you want to make sure that that's good and squeegeed out. And then we'll go ahead and take this stuff up, and then we're going to need to put a lot of tack solution in here and really rinse out all this soap. Okay, just make sure you get everything on this body line here. It's very easy to leave moisture on body lines. Great, so we're just going to really get some tack solution here, because we really want to dilute and eliminate the slip solution. And then I'm going to just put a very light mist of the slip on the paint protection film so that the squeegee will glide easily across it. Okay, so then I'm going to push this stuff up into place. And you see how I've got all my fingers across the squeegee here? That allows me to put even pressure all the way across this squeegee. And now let's go ahead and work our way up. Great. And then we'll come all the way up. Fantastic. And then let's dry that edge out, because that edge has a decent amount of tension on it. We want to get that edge nice and dried out so it doesn't continue to pop up. You see that tack solution was super important right there. Otherwise, there was no way that was just going to stay down. Now let's go ahead and get underneath here a little bit. And actually, before we do that, because that's not really visible when the car's on the ground, let's get this part stretched into place so that we don't get any work marks here as this just starts to dry. Okay, yeah. So this area is more important to get taken care of than that bottom area over there. Okay, so now we need to get rid of all this extra bunched up material right here, and we need to come up with the kit, and then we need to go over this way just a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and put some tack solution right here on the very end, and then I'm going to hold over here, and we're going to stretch this into place. And if you see, I keep moving my hand like this and jiggling the film back and forth, and the reason for that is that it'll help the film continue to float on the paint a little bit with the tack solution underneath there. So that is a really helpful thing. Otherwise, if you sit in one place for too long, it's going to immediately just tack. So keeping it wiggling like that will definitely help with that situation. Okay, so let's go ahead and go right along this body line first. You can see we've got a finger right here. So I'm going to put a little bit of tug down on this and just get this to line up right here. Or, you know, get rid of that finger, not line up. Okay, and let's go ahead, squeegee this stuff out. And then we'll come back and worry about that in a moment. And then let's take the rest of this stuff up. Just make sure again that you're getting everything off of that rounded edge. This edge here. You don't want to be leaving any moisture behind. Okay. So we're going to get a little bit more tack in here. Just really rinse everything out. And then let's go ahead, lay all that down. We can wipe it off. The other nice thing about drying this off is that you'll be able to see if you left water in there better. Great. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and move on to here. We'll come back and get this bottom side later. All right, heck, let's just take care of it now. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that none of this is like really stuck down. And I'm basically just pulling right up to this body line here. That looks pretty squeegeed out, so I'll just leave that there. Let's check all this though. Okay, great. And I've got a little bit of water. I can see a little ripple in the film right here that worked its way back up there, so I need to just remember that. Now, let's push this out after we get some tack in here. We're ready for this just to stay down, so we're gonna add a little bit of tack to this whole area. And I'm also watching when I spray this tack solution in to see, like in an area right here, it actually shot up and is on the face here now. And so you want to be looking out for stuff like that so that when you go to squeegee this, you don't leave something like that in there. Okay, great. We'll get this part down as well. And then let's go ahead and get some of this down, and then we'll go ahead and come this way. So basically we're just going for, you know, to get the bulk of everything down, and then we'll come back and take care of little stuff like this that's being a little bit more feisty with this. Doesn't want to work with us. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to right here. Great, and then we will take care of this in a moment. I want to take care of these guys first. Okay, so with these guys, I'm gonna try and just go over them like this first, see how that works out. And then we're gonna start going over just little bits at a time here. That wasn't a huge finger, but what we did need to do is by doing it all at once, it really broke it up. And so the finger wasn't just right here, it was definitely trying to go down in this whole area. And then we're gonna go over these little spots like this. And then right after squeegeeing out, I go across it with a towel, and that's going to really help that stuff stay down because we got rid of that moisture. The moisture on the edge is going to allow the film to continue to just pop up. And so if you're, you know, find a spot that's a little bit more stubborn, definitely drying it off right after you swipe it out. You'll notice that's going to make a big difference in helping stuff like that stay down. Okay, so I'm going to get some tack solution in this edge on this top part that's already stuck down. Then we're going to push that down again just to make sure that that's really stuck down, because we are going to kind of seam these two pieces together at this point. And we will see, we've just got tack solution in here. We will see how that works for us. A lot of times when you're trying to do a seam, the tack solution is not a good plan because you want to be able to push these two pieces together. So we are going to have a little gap at the beginning, and then we can make that gap much smaller as we come across. Okay, and I'm overlapping there. So I'm going to hold right here where it's not overlapping, bring this back and lay this down. So now we've got a really nice seam here that's more than adequate for being so low on the vehicle. That would not be good enough if it was out here somewhere. Okay. Now you need to get rid of this excess material here that's all bunched up. from the tension we put on it this way. How we're going to do that is by lifting this up and stretching back this direction. And then we'll go ahead, swipe this down. Then we need to push that out this direction because we can't go out this way because that has already been tacked down with the tack solution. Great. We've got a tiny little finger popping up right here, which can happen at these corners. And so that one's really minor. But if you get a worse one there, you're going to want to go ahead and pull this back, and then you're going to want to put some more tension this way or back this way, and that'll help get rid of that. Just be careful with those because sometimes you can stretch a little. When you're stretching this way, you stretch a little finger into it there, and it's really hard to get rid of. That one's very minor, so we're not going to have to worry about that, but keep an eye on stuff like that. All right, sorry, you're going to be able to hear the air conditioner now. It's up to 78 in here, and that's, you know, it's getting a little bit warmer than I want it to be. All right, so I'm going incredibly slowly on this install. I mean, this is really slow just to make sure that we're being incredibly thorough on the explanation on what we're doing here today. And so the thing just to note about that is that this stuff's going to start pre-tacking even with the amount of slip that we have in here, in our slip in our soap, or soap in our slip. The amount of soap we have in our slip. All right, let's go ahead and pull this back now and get this all to come off the paint here and get this re-wet back down. So while this is coming off, you want to go ahead and make sure that you're putting moisture on it immediately so that you don't get any of those dry areas to stick to other dry areas, adhesive to adhesive. Even this big old finger here, I'm going to go ahead and put some in there before I pull it back. Wow. All right. Oh, you know what else we need to do before we get on this part over here? We need to take care of this top corner on the other side. So let's do that real quick and then we'll come back to this. So this is probably just going to want to fall off again. So I am going to just tack this very little corner here, and I am going to tack this one here like that. All right, so we need to work this whole area down. So let's go ahead and pull this back. It was good to go over there and pull that up anyway, because that's just going to really start getting even stickier and stickier over there. So we're going to go ahead and throw some slip in here. Get all this lifted back up to this line here. Now it's important that we stopped here at a body line, because this isn't something that you would want to leave. You would want to push this down during the main part of the install if this wasn't on a body line. If you left a line like that out here and then you started working it and getting it down after you went and did a bunch of other stuff and the line was right here instead of right here, you're going to leave a distortion there on that adhesive. So we don't want that, especially when we pull it back like this to get to that line. If there is a distortion on in the adhesive right here, it's not such a big deal because it's going to be hidden by this bend here. Because when you're looking at it, all you're gonna really see is the contour of the body there. You're not gonna notice a little distortion in the adhesive, but you would definitely notice it out here on a flat area. Okay, so first things first, after we got that pulled back like that, we can throw some more slip in there as well. I wanna go ahead and get this corner stuck down really good. All right, so before we move on to the other side, we need to get all this side down. So let's take care of that now. I did already pull this back and wet everything down, get rid of the pre-tacking, and we're staying on a body line here, which helps hide any distortion that could be in the adhesive from letting this sit for so long and then maybe doing a little stretching. And I'll kind of explain more about what I'm talking about there. And right here we've got an area that we want to put just a little bit of tack in and give ourselves a new line to stretch from, because we are going to need to stretch a little bit down to there. So what I'm going to do is put a little tack in there, and then I'm going to squeegee out about an inch or so, because what can happen is that this area has been drying for quite a while, and then this area is really wet. So you're basically, I call that a hard line. You're trying to stretch from a hard line right here, because this is already dry. So if you stretch from that line, you're gonna leave a distortion in the adhesive because this is so cured already, and then this is not cured at all. So, but if you move this line down a little bit and then everything is like starting to cure, the stretch lines don't happen as much at all in an area like this line versus this one up here. When it's such a hard line, we want more of a soft line, I call it. Okay, let's go ahead. We're gonna need to stretch down and get this to line up down here on the bottom. And what we're gonna wanna do is add some tack solution in here on this bottom edge. Okay, so let's see what we can do here for this. So something like that is looking really good. I was putting some stretch from right here. And then we're gonna have to go down into that some more. Let's see how this is looking over here. Looks like we really need to come down a little more right here. And then that rollover is looking really good. Okay, and then we'll kind of deal with that, all this other stuff in a moment. See how it actually picked up a little bit and went up. I want to go ahead and realign that. And let's see, let's get one spot down and stuck down, and we can kind of pull away from that. So that's looking really good right there. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is squeegee down to this point here, but let's get some slip on the outside here so that the squeegee glides across the material. So good pressure, pushing this down. I turn my squeegee over so that I can go off the edge of the material, which I can't do going this way. And then we'll go ahead, line this up, and then we can get some tack in there. Okay, that looks really good. So we can tack right at this corner now, right here. And then let's see what we can do here. This needs to come up just a little bit, so I pulled the material back just a little bit so that we can make sure and keep a good line up against this black plastic here. That looks really good now. And we want to get this part down if we can. So I'm going to come out to here, and then we're going to squeegee some of this out. And we're going to let that start to cure just a little bit. And we're going to go along this body line here and try and push that down on the body line. And the part that's going to be important for this, see now if I hold my finger right here, I actually trap all this air in here. And so what we're going to be able to do with that is push all this out and have it not continue to come back in if we can get this to stay laid down. So let's go ahead and get some of this down now. Okay, so with a big finger like that, what we're going to want to do is probably this is already stuck down here. Nope, still it's not stuck down yet. So we can go ahead and squeegee some of this down like this. Great, and then we can take this part over this way. And so what you can do to help that go down is do that with your finger. But we're gonna, let's see, that's not really working too well. So let's just go ahead and do like this. We want this stuff to go down and get down right now. The more that this stuff pops up, the more distortions we can leave right here in the adhesive. I had a little piece of dirt right there, so I want to get that out. And then let's go ahead and get this laid down into place. So you just got to find a position and a way to squeegee that you get a really nice, this is a very lot of contours going on here because this is basically a recess right here. Okay, so now we're up to this body line. Let's make sure that all of this one needs to go over this edge, so we can do a swipe and hold there on that body line. Great. Okay, everything looks really good. So let's go ahead and we'll get some more tack in here. And we're going to go ahead and get this top to stick down all the way to here. So we'll start way up here, and roll this over and go back to the grill there. Okay, great. That looks really good. I'm bumping into the plastic just a little bit there, so I'm gonna have to trim right in here, but it's not bad enough where I'm gonna go ahead and lift this and reposition it at this point, because all this stuff is really stuck down and I don't want to take a chance of getting some distortions in the adhesive from pulling this all back just to come down a little bit. Okay, let's take care of this area and then we'll go ahead and push this top down. Okay. Now let's go ahead and get this stretched down to here. This is a lot of finger left over. Let's see what we can do with that. We're gonna break that up here. I don't know, we'll try something different. We'll try stretching this differently on the other side and see if that's beneficial. We don't have much material here that we can stretch this finger out, so we're gonna have to work with it the way that it is. And I will show you how I'm going to do this. Doesn't seem like that there should be all this finger here, so I probably did something wrong. But we want this part to stay down really good. So I'm gonna just kind of go in between these two and squeegee this down a little bit to help that to start to stick down in here, as well as we're gonna lift this edge up a tiny bit and get some tack in here. And then lay that back down and we can squeegee this out. But we don't want this squeegeed over too far because we want to be able to work this finger out. Same with this one here. All right, we're going to start by working this one out and then we'll come down to this one. So what we need to do here, because this is such a big finger in this area, is we want to lift this whole area back, make sure that nothing is stuck down along this whole edge. We want as much edge as we can get in order to break this finger up. And so I threw some tack in there. And then we're gonna just start working our way to this edge. You don't wanna push any of the edge down though. You wanna take this finger all the way over to that edge so that you break it up into different spots. And that's gonna help us be able to get this down. There we go. And then we're gonna go ahead and put some more tack in here. And like I said, we'll try stretching things a little different on the other side and see if that is beneficial. Now I'm turning the squeegee over and I'm holding it when I go over this edge. So I go over the edge and then I hold. And then this area of the squeegee, not the very tip, but this area is holding right on that edge to keep the finger down. Because the other thing you should definitely know about paint protection film, if you don't already, is that if I just take this squeegee in an area that isn't fully cured yet and I hold this, push and put some pressure on here, it's going to leave a line in the adhesive that's going to stay there. And so we want to be really careful about that. Okay, let's get some tack solution up in there. This is a good sized finger, but I don't really see a problem being able to get this down. So we'll go ahead and start squeegeeing this down. Might even pull up some of this over here so we've got a bigger area to take this finger out. Maybe even take it back this direction a little bit more so we get some of this finger all the way over to the corner there. Okay, great. Now that that's basically almost all the way down, we'll go ahead and get some more tack solution in here and we'll go ahead and push this out. Okay, so I'm gonna go over that edge and then I'm gonna hold right at that edge, and actually it's kind of hard to do because I keep just running into that black plastic. So I'm going to squeegee all this out and then we'll go ahead and take this towel here and try this edge off. That'll really help convince things to just stay stuck down right now. Terrific. Okay, let's dry this off. Take another glance at that, make sure we didn't leave any water behind, which we didn't, which is great. Let's take care of this top up here. All right, we'll go ahead, pull this back up again, wet this down. So we don't have any pre-tacking. Great. Then I'm going to go ahead and stick some tack in here. Okay. Go ahead and start way back here. Just work our way around this corner right here, just work our way around towards this front. Make sure you're getting good passes here with the squeegee so that you're not leaving any moisture on this bend. Okay, make sure nothing's pre-tacking. And then right here, we don't want to push this finger to right here because we don't want to make that mess right there. So what I'm going to do is push that finger back towards this corner here, like that. So basically just move that finger back to the back. It's small enough, it's going to be easy to get rid of, and it'll be much easier to deal with back here than it will be right here. All right, so there was a little bit of contamination right there, a little black dot. So I went in and pulled that back, scrubbed the film with my fingernail a little bit, blew it out, and then I'll go ahead and lay this back down. Great. Okay. So all this is squeegeed down really well. We can make sure that edge, there's nothing left in the corner there. Go ahead and get some tack in there. And then we will go ahead and get the first part we laid down. Make sure that that's fully stuck down so that we can bump into it with this piece here without it continuing to pop up. Okay, great. Looks like that's staying down really well now. So now let's go ahead and get this little piece in there to line up as good as we can. I've done these before, and this little piece is tough. It doesn't, you know, just like there's no stretching you can really do to it. You just try to get it in there as good as you can. And I'm gonna more importantly get this edge together because that's an edge we can really get together, and then we'll work on this bottom part and see what we can do there. Just starting with tack solution on this is going to be probably a really difficult thing if you were to do that, because it's really just going to want to stick down. So basically I'm kind of lining this up against this piece. They're taking this piece of film, pulling it up against this one, and then pulling towards myself to make sure that we've got a really tight seam there. It's over a little bit, so we're going to need to lift this back up. And I'm just running this finger across this, and I can feel then whether we're overlapping or not, because we don't want to be overlapping and we don't want to leave a big old gap that's going to catch a whole bunch of dirt over time. Okay, so that's looking really good. We are overlapping just a little bit here, so I'm just going to massage the film like this, back and forth, and get that part to stick down. I'll hold that down for just a moment with my finger, spray some tack in, hopefully sneak under some of these edges just a little bit. Then we'll squeegee this out again and get this stuff to really just stay down. Great. There's a little bit right here coming up, so I'm going to get some more tack in there, and then we'll just massage that down after getting some tack in there, and that's looking really good now. Okay, fantastic. Let's get on the other side. Okay, so let's bring this across and up to here. Now what we're going to see is if we can make a difference here with how many fingers we had left. We can see that we need some kind of stretching somewhere in order to get rid of this finger, but let's take a look and see if we install this differently, if that's helpful for all the finger we had to deal with here. Okay, so important is that we stretch over, and right here is going to be our next tack point. So let's go ahead, get some tack solution in this corner. So we want that to line up really good right there. I'm gonna put my finger in it to make, to try and make sure it didn't move, but it moved anyway. Okay, in this part, I'm just gonna go ahead and tack some of that down so that it doesn't keep falling off. Okay, so let's go ahead and get this over to right here. So right like that looks good. Lining up really nicely, going across the top and coming down. So that's good. Let's make sure that when you come up just a little bit more, to make sure that we're getting all the way up to that black plastic here. Okay, so for right here, we're looking really good. So I'm gonna hold that part down with my finger, and then we'll go ahead and squeegee this out. And now let's check out here. And make sure that we're not overhanging onto the top there, which we aren't, which is good. Okay. So I want to go ahead and get everything out where my finger was sitting now. And we're going to let that just hang out for a moment while we get this part down. So let's go ahead and get some more tack in here. All right, so it's important that we stretch this into place here before we start tacking all this down. So you don't work your way across to here, you stretch to here, and then you work all this down. And the reason for that is that you don't want to come up too long or too short over here. And so the way to know that is by getting that part tacked into place first and then coming and working on everything out here. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, because we've got some tack solution in there, is I'm just gonna go along this contour here and squeegee this out. Great. And then we can go ahead and roll this top over. Go ahead and do basically a slide chomp on this, where we slide on this at an angle. And now, because there's tack in there, that's going to tack down really quickly, so we can go ahead and put some pressure on this now and squeegee this stuff all the way out the bottom. We don't want to come all the way over to here because this is already tacked. We want to take this stuff and not pull it through here. We want to bring it out this way. Make sure that you're getting all this down really good, so we'll just double check. Now we'll go ahead and take this stuff over the edge and all the way out. Just checking this edge again. Then we can go ahead and chomp this down. All right, what do you think? You guys want to take care of this right now? Okay, let's come back up basically to this body line. Get a little bit of tack in here, and that finger will mostly go down without some stretch, but it definitely stretch will be beneficial, plus that'll help us get the coverage we need right here. So we're going to stretch that over and line it up, and that's going to help us with this finger here. And then we'll go ahead and push all this stuff down. Well, don't crease it over on itself. Let's not do that, huh? Okay, so like that looks really good. Go ahead and squeegee out to that edge, and then we'll just make sure up here at the body line you've got everything down to there, and then we'll go ahead and push that out. We got a little finger there, so I'm going to lift up this edge so we can split that finger up a little bit. Okay. See how that's all split up along the edge now, and then we'll push that out. And we've got some fingers there that don't want to go away. So we'll go ahead and go over them and then try the material edge off. Great. Down. All right, let's get moving over here. Okay, so one more time, I'm gonna pull this back. Make sure everything is good and wetted down. No pre-tacking. Oh, we're moving so slow. I can't even believe how long this is taking. I should be done with this bumper by now. Okay, great. Now we're gonna need to stretch up to here. So I'm gonna go ahead and we're gonna figure out this top edge here. So I'm gonna get some tack solution in this edge. We're gonna bring it up to there. So right there looks good. We can come back over here and look and see that we're not hanging over too far, and we're not gonna hit the this plastic. We're also looking up here to make sure that we have a nice line there, which is looking really good so far. So that is some really good placement there. Okay, and we'll go ahead and squeegee this corner out. All right, now we're gonna need to bring this back down all the way across here. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's see over here. So we are too far over. So we want to make sure that all of this lifts up so that when we tug on this a little, it's going to bring this part back like that right there. And actually now that lines up really well. So we're going to go ahead and just hold it just like that. Get rid of that little finger that was coming, you know, popping up right there. Got all this kind of held into place, and we'll go ahead and squeegee down to our hand here. So again, we're left with quite a bit of finger, and we're gonna have to see how that works out for us. It looks like just by bringing the film up into position, it gets rid of a lot of that finger, but not all of it. So we'll have to work with a little bit of that. Now we are having an issue here where this film is wrapping over and bumping into the black plastic, and we would prefer that not to be an issue because we don't want to do any trimming on this if we don't have to, right? Okay, so that looks like it's lining up really good again. And we didn't use any tack in here, so this is all just popping right back up. I mean, normally for me with my installs, that would have just stayed right stuck down. So I'm gonna go ahead and tack this down right along this line here. And then we'll go ahead and take this stuff out to the bottom like this. Now you can see all of this moisture here is trapped in there. I'm gonna get a little tack in there. Well, just might as well spray some of this down too while we're here. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna burp this out where you just get rid of that air. And look how nice that goes down like that. Quite a bit easier than the other side. But we did have to stretch different because we went down to this point on the other side. From here, we're starting at the bottom and then we kind of worked our way up. Okay, so let's get all that squeegeed out. Again, be really careful here because it's easy to leave stuff behind with all this compound curves going on. Great. Okay. Now, we're gonna go ahead and push a little bit of this down. I'm actually gonna go all the way up to there. We can put a little bit of slip on the outside and go ahead and push this down all the way up. So make sure you're getting a nice even pressure on this stuff. We're gonna have to do a little bit of a swipe right there, a slide chomp. And we can dry this stuff out. Push that down again and dry it out. Make sure you're not leaving anything on this bend here, the body line. Very easy to do. Okay, we're gonna go all the way up to right there. Oops, oops, oops. Look what I just did right there. Come on, Brent. So this type of stuff is, you can totally still work with this. It's not a huge deal, but you do have to pull the film all the way back up again and let it relax. And even some like warm water over it would even be beneficial as well. I did do the same thing right here. I don't know what I'm doing. What am I doing? This is my first time. All right, let's just start over on this little part here. Okay, get some tack solution in there, some mist on the outside, and we'll go ahead and roll this over. All right, so this is definitely a better way to do it for your first time across. I thought I'd gotten it good enough, but what that was from is that I left little water pockets in here on this edge, and then when I tried to go across them with and be a lot more aggressive, it just bunched up those water pockets into little crinkles or creases, and you know, that wasn't going to work. Let's go ahead and get this lifted up. We're still good and slippery. So I'm pretty sure I have another one of these videos with I'm sure I've done this bumper before on a video. And if you go take a look at that one, you'll see how much faster it is than this one. All right, so we are left with a lot of finger there still. So it seems to me that regardless of how we did this, the direction we installed it, it's still there. So what we need to worry about right now is that this is tacked down. This we don't have to worry about a ton, but we need this hole to line up really good around this parking sensor, which actually I'm quite impressed. These are lining up great. A little mist on the outside. Let's get our squeegee, and we'll go ahead, and it's better, you're gonna oblong the hole if you stretch from this side. See that? How it turns into more of an oval? So we wanna start over here and get that into place, get that as close to lined up in the circle as possible. That's most important, is that this is lined up really well. Okay, great. So let's get this all pushed down around this. Great. And then we can go ahead and squeegee this stuff up and out. Okay, so now we're fully off the face there. Let's go ahead and see what we need to get over to here. And then we're gonna need to stretch into this corner, into that spot right there, which is lining up very nicely. Okay, so let's go ahead and tack this whole line again like we did on the other side. Running out of tack solution. Okay, so we'll get that lined up into place. I'm gonna hold back here out of the area where the tack solution is. We're gonna get that into place, and then that is lining up very nicely back here. Get that into place, and then we're gonna squeegee out this area that has all the tack solution in it. Great. Okay, get a good press there. Make sure you took out all the moisture, because we're only leaving stuff behind. And then what we need to do here is we're gonna need to come down just a little bit to get this to line up. So just a tiny bit, and let's get a little tack in here. Let's make sure that that is lining up again really well. Great. And then we'll tack this little corner down right here. And then we're gonna have to deal with this finger. And what I'm gonna actually go ahead and do probably is maybe pull all the way up to here. We're gonna see. Let's just take a couple minutes, get the rest of this down. So then we're gonna just be stretching down. And actually, before we do that, I'm gonna go ahead and let all this just sit here and free float like this. And I've got a little bit of water that's sneaking back in here. I wanna get that down. So let's get some tack in here. Because we didn't use any tack, very easy for this stuff to just come right back up, especially with the amount of soap that I have in my slip today. So we'll go ahead and squeegee this out. And then because this is a bend, we can go ahead and do a swipe and hold on the bend. Normally I tell you never to stop out in the open with the squeegee, but on a bend you can do that. And that'll make that one little line where we stopped with this. You can even see the line on the squeegee where I stopped. It'll make it so that that spot is really stuck down, and then you don't have to worry about the stuff running back out into there. But before we tack this down here, let's go ahead and get this stretched into place. Okay. So again, we'll get a bunch of moisture on the bottom here. Don't want to let the adhesive stick to itself like that, but I have a lot of soap today, so it wasn't a big deal. But it's best if it doesn't do that. So let's go ahead. I'm going to leave plenty of extra material here, and I'll just tack this down like that. And then let's go ahead and stretch this into place. So we went ahead and got some tack on the body of the car on the paint. Now let's get some on the paint protection film. Now that is stretched into place really well. If we can go right there, that'll be really good for this side. Let's see how it's looking over here. Great. All right. So we'll go ahead and squeegee this area out. And we'll go ahead and we're gonna leave this just like this. Let's go ahead and take this part all the way down. And now we're gonna get rid of all this. So we can go with this stuff out this side here. You can see that I was squeegeeing up until I got closer to the part that's already tacked, and then I start there and I come back down. So we basically work all this stuff to the middle and then push it out. Now over here, we're gonna bring the stuff this way. And we can't come through this part, so you don't want to try to take it through there. But we are gonna bring this stuff to the middle, and then we'll bring this stuff like this, and then we'll go up and down with this. Great. Okay, so that is a lot of finger. it does seem to me that there needs to be more stretch in this area here, but this makes it so that you can't do that. And I mean, right here on both sides, I'm hanging over just a tiny bit, and that happened on both sides. So that means that we're over this way as far as we can go. And we're lined up really good on the top, so it's not like we could go up. And plus with this circle, there wasn't much else that we could do in this area. So let's go ahead. What do we want to do now? So we've got this to deal with, and we've got this, and then we've got the top here. So let's go ahead and work this finger out. So I'm gonna get a bunch of tack solution in here. And I'm gonna go ahead and hold this finger up. I don't want anything starting to tack. I wanna be able to push this finger even way back up into here. And because we wanna break up a lot more of the finger this direction, I'm not gonna go really down with this yet until we bring some of this across, and I'm pulling just a tiny bit, some of the finger over to this area here. Great. Oh, I just did that thing again where I left a little bit of water there. With the alcohol solution, it really will tack around certain areas really quickly, and then it's hard to push that stuff out. So let's bring that back up. I mean, look how easy that comes up. That's crazy. That doesn't ever happen when I'm doing with my normal solutions. This stuff would have stuck down like really quickly. Okay. So now I've got a bunch of tack in there, got a little mist of slip solution on the top. Let's go ahead and squeegee this stuff out again. So just over that body line, and then we'll go ahead and take all this stuff down. Now that we've got it really close to the edge, this one's still a little bit bigger, so we want to break that one up some more, and then we can just chomp this stuff down like this. Okay. Okay, and we are hanging over just the tiniest amount here on this edge, and so that is going to make it difficult for this material to want to stay down on this edge, and it's really hard to then dry the edge out and help it really stay stuck down. So I'm putting the squeegee in the towel and then going over these edges, and then we call this bumping the edge, and I'm trying to get it way down into that edge to get this dried out. Okay, plenty good enough for now. I am gonna have to trim that though. It's not enough hanging over to actually stick to that in there, so I am just gonna come and trim that right off right there, and we'll do that in a little bit. So let's go ahead and get this part down now. And actually, I don't want any tack solution in this area. I want this to all be slip solution over to here. All right, lift this up. Again, we're gonna be stretching to right here, and we are gonna be keeping in, well, let's see, what did we do last time? We stretched this into place so that we could get rid of all this finger. So let's do that first. We're gonna start right here. Now, when I just moved my finger across this, I could feel a dot of some sort, and it's clear, whatever it was. So it wasn't like a dirt you could see. But sometimes when you're moving your hand across it, you'll be able to feel stuff underneath the film. And with a repaint, it's totally possible that it's actually in the paint, but it's not on this one. So it's definitely something that was stuck in between these two. So I went ahead and you can just take your fingers like this and clean this area off back and forth, and then you just spray that off. And that should clean off any little piece of contamination that was in there, especially those clear ones that you can't see. So we're gonna go ahead, spray that down. We'll spray this area down really well with the tack solution. We'll lay this down, and we want to stretch this all into place now. Okay, so that's looking really good. Let's go ahead and get some of this stuck down real quick. Now, I was holding right here, and it did start to stick because of that tack solution in there. I had a little bit of my finger into some of that tack solution, so that's perfectly fine. That's good and stuck down now. Let's go ahead. We need to pull this down in order to get it to line up well there, just like that. And we'll go ahead and Just come across this way. Let's go ahead and take some of this stuff down. Okay, and that's lining up really good. So that was our, where we were looking, is to be good on this corner and then to be good right up to here. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and stretch this now over to here. So some tack where we're stretching to. I'm going to hold right here to help give me some more pulling power on this. Okay, there's something in the paint right there. You can see that white speck. Okay, so to right there, and that's already starting to kind of stick down really well. So we'll go ahead and push this out. Okay, great. Let's make sure that this doesn't start, coming down too far. We want to keep this a nice straight line here. Good coverage. Going up and over the edge here with this. Then we're going to work our way down. Great. Okay, and then let's just go over this one more time to make sure that we didn't leave anything behind in there. Great. Okay, we got a little black dot right here. Man, I pressure washed the snot out of this car too. All the crevices, everything, and we're still getting some black dots in here. So just do what we can with the cleaning process. That's really important. But I did pressure wash the snot out of it, so wherever that stuff's coming from, it's nothing we're gonna be able to do about that. Just work with it, right? Okay, so we're going all the way over the edge here. Everything is going down really nicely. I'm going to go ahead and put some tack on this edge because we are going to be bumping into this edge when we pull the other piece into place below it. And I want this to come down a little bit more. It was going up too high. So right there looks good. And we'll go ahead and push this back down again. Great. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and get some tack in here now. And then we can go ahead and take everything from here down and squeegee that out the bottom. And then we'll take that the rest of the way down in a moment. Let's get this part taken care of first. So everything from here up, we need to make sure and get good coverage on with our squeegee and push this stuff out. So we'll go all the way back there. Okay, great. And we're gonna work our way up here. So the way that we're gonna do this one is to go there and then kind of a little bit hold that in place. We don't want to take a really pause on the material with this. We just want to keep a nice fluid motion going and then curve our way up. Okay, great. Go ahead and get this over the edge. Now let's get this part down. Make sure you're taking care of this body line really well. Like I left a little moisture in there. Put some good pressure on that, squeegee that out. Fantastic. All right, let's get this stuff all dried out right here. All right, so in this area, we want to go ahead and get this pulled up, and we'll get a little tack in here. Put a little mist on there. We'll go ahead and make sure that we get all this stuff off the face first over this body line, and then we'll take this stuff down. Now for this finger here, you could probably just kind of squeegee right over the top of that, but I'm going to put just a little bit of tension downward on it to get rid of that. Okay. I've got some fingers there that don't want to stay stuck down, so we need to get some tack in those. I'll go ahead and slap those out like that, and and then we'll take them over one at a time once they're really small at the edge, and run right behind it with our towel. Bam, goners. So you can see it's popping up a little bit right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and push that down. And then what I wanna do is get that edge dried out as much as possible, because that's really what's helping or allowing that material to pop back up, because there wasn't a huge finger there. So we really shouldn't be having much of an issue with that film popping up right there. You know, if you have a lot of finger left over, then sure, that makes sense that it continues to try and pop up, but there wasn't much finger there. Okay, just kind of pushing that area down too and drying it out. That looks great. All right, so we got, we are out of tack solution here. So I want to get this edge down here really good before we start bumping these into each other. So let's get that down again right now. We'll dry it out. Okay, great. Now let's go ahead and work some of this down. So we'll get a little mist on there, slip. There was a bit of a finger here, so I went ahead and lifted that up just to make sure it's all broken loose, and we're gonna be able to squeegee this out really easily. You can also put a little bit of tension on it, and that'll help get rid of that as well. Okay, now let's go ahead and get that down like that. Great. Okay, let's get some more tack in here now. I want to line this up decently now. So got a little gap there at the beginning, which is going to be normal for a cutout like that. And then we want to kind of line this other stuff up here as good as we can. Pulling, you know, pretty far over there, and it's making it so that we're not lining up. So I'm going to pull some of this up a little bit here and see if we can let go of some of this and then just push it that way instead of pulling back that way too, because pulling back that way is causing us to have too much hanging over this way. So let's get this all lined up in place, and then if I get that held in place with my finger, and then we can kind of squeegee this line out. Okay, great. And then we're going to be able to take this, and we're going to see how it's hanging over there just a little bit. So what I want to do is lift this up, pull back this direction and that way. So that way and this way to get it away from there, which could create a little bit of a finger there, but we have plenty of, we're fine. I mean, it's just going to be super tiny. So now let's get that squeegee out to that corner, and let's get this whole area down. And what that did was allowed us to get that down without having the extra material hanging over right here, so we don't have to trim it. Okay, we've got a little finger there popping up, and that's just gonna wanna be massaged down and dried out. And then that'll quit coming up. Okay, great. Now, let's take care of this here. So we gotta bring it back all the way to here because I left some moisture all the way up there. And actually, we're just gonna go ahead and take it right up to that body line, and then we'll re-stretch all this into place. So we're gonna get some tack solution in here, a little bit of slip on top, and squeegee this out. Okay, so we're lining up real good right here. That's what I'm paying attention with this finger, is to make sure that's lined up. And then we'll squeegee all the way to our finger, and we'll let go of that tension. We don't want to put a whole bunch of there's no need to put a whole bunch of tension on this edge. We'd prefer that to relax and lay down real nice like that, because then we don't ever have to worry about that popping up. If you put a bunch of tension on that corner, you could potentially cause issues down the road, because that's going to want to release. But now, because there's no tension, we're in good shape on that edge. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and swipe those down, and then I just want to go ahead and double check and make sure that we didn't leave any moisture behind here. Great. All right, and then while this is up in the air like this, before I lower it back down to take care of that top part, we're gonna go ahead and trim this right here. I do have a little bit of air and water has gone all the way up to there, so let's get rid of that first. Great, and then let's push this down all a little bit more. So it's all the way down to that edge if possible. So it did have a little bit of time to sit there and dry. So that is going to round around that bend and stay stuck down. It just needs to dry out and then get pushed down with the heat sealing process. Now here we are hanging over, and that is not going to work. So let's get this little piece here trimmed off, maybe from here to here. That I'm gonna leave, and we're just gonna wrap that over. All right, let's get ourselves a fresh blade. And then what we're gonna do is start back here. I'm gonna start just on the other side of the line there. And we can come across like this. Over to there. Let's see if we got enough pressure on that. This is tough. These little tiny slivers are a real pain to get these trimmed and pulled off, especially in an area like this. It's really hard to get this material to break on that line when you don't have much to hold on to back here behind it. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and re-trim that, but we need to get a different angle for you guys because I'm gonna get in the way. Okay, that should work better. So I'm gonna start back here again, right about here. Just come along right above the bend. Right to about there. Okay, great. I was able to get my fingernail in there and pull that apart. So another good thing to use in here is tweezers. So let me just grab a pair, because it's easier than trying to get it with your, pinch it with your fingers. Okay, so let's find, where did I go through? Right here? Yes, okay, great. That's where I got the line to break. Okay, and we'll go ahead and pull this back to somewhere there. Great. You can try that out. Fantastic. Let's put these away because they are super pointed. And in some of my videos, in one of them I know I had it stuck in my finger because I put it in my pouch. Not a good idea. Not a good idea. All right, let's get this pulled up right to this body line here. Okay. All the way up to the body line. Perfect. Okay. Now I'm going to actually go refill my tack solution, and I'll be right back, and then we'll put some in there and get this pushed down. Okay, so we're gonna go 20% rubbing alcohol. Right there, the rest water. So 20 to 25% is what I'm normally doing for the rubbing alcohol amount in there. And then the rest water. And this is ran through a reverse osmosis system that's underneath the sink there. Okay. All right, so we'll put a little mist on top there, and then we'll get some tack solution. Oh, look at that. Love a full bottle of tack. Get that on there, and let's go ahead and push this down. Okay, so over here again, I want that to lay down about like that. Great. All the way to that edge, fantastic. Just making sure that I'm doing a little slide chomp there, making sure that we're completely off of this edge with the moisture. Then we can take it all the way back. Okay, chomping all this down. Okay, and then I do want to just go over that with a slide chomp. Make sure that we've got everything down really good on that edge, and we're not leaving any moisture behind underneath the material. All right, let's go ahead and get this part down now. So we've got a bunch of tack in there, and that's not going to want to allow us to stretch this into place. So I added some slip solution there, And let's go ahead and see what we can do now. So I'm gonna pull this basically down and this way into that corner. And then I'm gonna try to kind of pull this stuff towards me here. So that's not really working, so let's do this a different way. Go ahead and pull this overlapping itself like this. Pull that towards myself. Let's get this bottom corner into place. I'm hanging over on the bottom. I can feel that with my finger as I go over the edge, so I'm massaging it back up a little bit. Kind of hold that in place. Let's just put this down. This one's not working out as good as the other side. It's not wanting to lay down real good and nice and tight there. So I'm gonna add some tack, and that will definitely help it stay in place and get it to quit moving around. But then it's gonna be hard to move around, right? So when we get down to the bottom there, it wants to leave that gap and it doesn't want to stretch into place. So a little bit of stretch on that, just a tiny bit, even overstretch it a little bit. And then we'll lay that into place and we'll start squeeging out behind our finger and work our way down until these two pieces are together. I'm overlapping a tiny bit, so I went ahead and lifted that corner up. And then I'm kind of just bunching the material, this piece of material back that way a little bit. Get some tack in there, because just barely was going over. So I think I'm gonna be able to work that down by just massaging it. Now you want to be careful, especially on like black cars and stuff. It's going to be much more difficult to massage these things down and not leave kind of like little distortions in this area. But being this color car, it's not going to be something that people are going to be able to notice. So it's not a big deal at all. I'm going to go ahead and put some alcohol in here, some slip or tack solution. And then we're going to go ahead and push this down one more time and dry all this out. So I've got the edge of these little fibers sticking out here are actually like tucking into that groove there, so it's really helping get that very edge completely dried out. And that's going to help get the moisture out of there, so that this stuff wants to then stay down a bit more. Okay. Whew, holy moly, that took forever. So recording it like this took a lot longer. I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go back and look at my other video that I already have posted on YouTube about this bumper and see how long that one took me. That one I did a recording as well, obviously, or it wouldn't be on YouTube. Nice one. But I don't think I got so detailed, so it'll be interesting to see how much faster I got that one done. And then when I don't record at all, I even get it done way faster than that. So anyway, we're gonna go ahead and let this dry for a bit, let all those edges dry out. We'll come back with a heat gun, wrap glove, and heat seal all those edges, get everything nice and stuck down, and then this thing's ready to go home. So I'll see you guys back here in just a little bit. We're back. All right, let's go ahead and heat seal this. I mean, for you, it's just been a split second, but for me, it's been, I don't know, half hour, 45 minutes. These edges are all dried out. Let's go ahead and heat seal this and send this car down the road. All right, so what we're gonna go around and do, we're gonna heat up all the edges and we're going to push them down with our wrap glove. If I can't reach that edge with the wrap glove, then I'm going to take hang on, bear with me here. I don't know why I hide things from myself. It's in the wrong pouch. Okay, it's in the wrong pocket in my pouch. Or we're gonna take this tool and go over it with this felt edge, and if that can't reach the edge because it's too tight in there, then we use this side here. Let's get moving. All right, so you wanna be very methodical about this. So you wanna pick a point like right here in this corner and then work your way away from there around, and then we'll end up coming right back to here in the ends on this edge. So we'll go ahead and I'm gonna turn this up to, this is way too hot, or it's going to get too hot, it's not there yet. I'm gonna go down to closer to like 720 is fine, somewhere between 700, right around 700. And then we'll go ahead and put some heat on this and then push this edge down. So it's important that we wanna get it warm and then push it down with our finger, and that seals that edge and makes it, the odds of it popping up now are slim to none, and that's a huge benefit over time. Because you can really save yourself a bunch of work or a bunch of comebacks, a bunch of little tiny peeling edges that catch dirt, stuff like that by using this process. So don't skip this process. Let's bring this down a little bit so we can see up here. All right, so up here, we're starting to get back where it's kind of underneath the headlight a little bit. And so I'm going to try and get my finger in there, but if I can't get it in there, that's where this tool comes into play, and we can just run across that edge. Just be careful when you're using a tool like this, because obviously you can't feel the edge like you can with your glove, and so you don't want to put too much pressure on that edge. You also don't want to overheat the edge, because that's going to cause other problems as well. And you can't tell that type of stuff when you're using this tool, but you can feel that the edge gets too hot with your glove. And how you're going to feel that is that when you're running your finger across this edge, if the film starts getting like sticky where you can't run across it real easily, that means you're getting the film too hot. And what you're going to end up doing is one of two things. You're either going to fray that edge, which gives it like a bunch of, like, it really roughs up that edge, and then it kind of gets a white appearance on the edge. The other thing you can do is fold the material over on itself, and then that, either one of those mistakes is going to require you to cut that area out. There's no real fixing that other than trimming it away. So we don't want that, especially on something like this. Like, you don't want a wonky line going across because you made a mistake there with the heat sealing. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're heating this up. Then we're pushing all this down. Just be careful where these things come together. You don't want to put pressure on there incorrectly and damage that edge where the seams come together. You want to be gentle in those areas. Okay, that's great. So we're just going to continue to work our way across here. And if I feel that the material is starting to get too tacky because it's too warm, then what I want to do is get that heat away. And we also want to make sure that the film is stuck down before we go through and put heat on it. And I'll explain more of that when we get over to this area in here. It's important that the film is not popping up off the car when we put the heat on it and then push it down. So, and then in this area here, I do know that we discussed that we were going to have to trim that, but we aren't. I was able to pull back on this a little bit and get the film to tuck in behind this piece or underneath it, and so we're not going to have to trim that, and it's not pushing against the bumper right there, so we don't have to worry about it jiggling and then bunching the material up and creating a problem here where it pops up. If this is really tight up against here, then you can definitely have that be a problem, where this is going to jiggle going down the road and flex, and then it just rubs the material back and forth like this until this part will then pop up, because it'll break loose underneath, and then it pops up all right here, and then you have to come back and trim that off. And hopefully the customer brings it back to you in time where it doesn't get out here too far and you don't have to redo the whole bumper. But that type of thing, you know, just make sure it's not pushing up real hard, because that's a mess, right? We don't want the customer to have to bring it back for something like that. Okay, then this is actually going under this black piece of plastic here just a little bit. Just a tiny bit. And the rest of this is just out here on the surface. Okay, all the way over. That's getting a little bit back in there where I'm not able to get to it with my finger, so I'm going to go ahead and just use this tool and put some pressure on that edge. I'll go down right here. Great. Bring this on down right here. Okay, now let's take the lift up. So we've worked all the way around to right here. I'm gonna put there's a little air pocket right here, so I'm just gonna take my fingernails, stick it in the corner of the film and lift up. And then we're gonna push that right back down. And why that's there is because there is it's going to be really hard to get this stuff down right here. There is a body stamping seam in the bumper right here, and that is probably why they didn't make this pattern go around and wrap to this back side, because in a perfect world they would have done that. This would go over and wrap to here, but because there is this seam in the bumper right there from the stamping, that can or the mold or whatever, when they make this, it makes it really difficult to go over that, because you're going to end up with a gap here along that line, and a gap where there's going to be an air gap because the material goes over, lifts up to go over that bump and then back down, and that'll leave a little air line all the way up this. Okay, so I'm going to start at this seam here. Just push all this down. Let's see, what are you looking at now? So we got this nice and pushed down, and we'll just work our way around across the bottom here. And I like to also take this and turn it this way so it's not blowing into my finger and overheating my finger. Once you get the glove real hot, it burns right through to your finger. Okay, we're gonna come across this part here. Great. And just take your time with this process. So you can see the film, I don't know if you can tell, but the darker area right here is where the film is not stuck down. And what I want to do first is run over that with my finger, with the glove, and get that to stick down. Because when I put heat on it like this, if it isn't stuck to the bumper, that area that's popped up is going to absorb all that heat and not be able to transfer it anywhere. This part, because it's stuck to the bumper, you can heat this up and then it automatically starts heating the bumper up with it. When it's popped up like that, it takes all that heat right into that little part, and then when you run across it like this, you can ripple and fold it over on itself, and then you're gonna have to trim that out of there. So it's important that you be really careful in areas that are popped up, like we got a little bit here. And so I can put some heat on that, and then I want to go like with it this way now, instead of going across it this way until it's down. And then now I can go ahead and go with it on the edge across it. All right, and let's get this guy here. Got a little water pocket there. That's not going to be an issue. That'll dry right out, if you can see that at all. Let's see, right here is where I can see it the most. That's going to dry out. That's small enough, it's not going to be a problem. Okay, so we're going to go from here now. Starting to get a little grippy with the glove. I can feel the glove isn't sliding across it really well, so I want to go ahead and get that heat away from there and get this all pushed down. Let the film cool back down. Okay. Go ahead and go underneath here now. Great. And let's go all the way over to here. We'll come across the bottom of this bumper. Got some water on there. Heating all this up. Okay. Now let's work in here where the film was popping up just a little bit, or going over the edge. So I'm gonna go ahead and go over this stuff like this and get that to stick down, and then we're gonna apply some heat to it. Great. And so I'm able to kind of, the glove is kind of like bunched up and on my finger right here, and you can see the part here, this line that's actually the part that's going into the groove in between those two a little bit and helping me push down this edge really well. Again, you could also take a tool like this, but this edge here, I want to be able to fill it as well as I can. You can go back afterwards and run this across it if you'd like. But I wanted to be able to fill that edge with my finger to make sure that I wasn't getting too rough on it. Great. Okay, we'll go ahead and come down and around this turn. It's really hard to get back in there on this part because I'm basically almost bumping completely up to this black plastic here. So I'm going to go ahead and push the plastic back a little bit and run this card across. And you want to just be really like methodical about this whole process because you want to get every single edge. You don't want to leave anything out or miss anything. This is definitely going to make a big difference for longevity of your install. Come on, you guys got to pay attention. Look at what we're doing. Let's get this seam now. And so when you're doing these seams, like this one was tough up here because it's hard to get this all pushing down without bumping into another direction of seam. So you want to be careful of that because what you really want to be doing is going with the seam like this. You don't want to be going against the grain with that seam. It's much easier to damage that if you're doing it like this. Okay. And we'll go ahead and bring this across. Come on down here. Great. Okay. Let's get this parking sensor down. All right, terrific. Well, that's the process of installing paint protection film on this front bumper. So that was a real great beginner tutorial as far as step-by-step how to get this stuff on there and get everything squeegeed out, how to do some stretching, how to get rid of some big fingers that we had to get rid of in here. What'd you guys think of this kit? I'd say overall it fit pretty good. Those are pretty big fingers though, and those are gonna be tough for some people to get those out, but I mean, all in all, they went down fairly easily and didn't add a ton of time to the install, although if they'd laid down nice and smooth, that would have definitely made things easier. These circle cutouts around the parking sensors fit fantastic. So, you know, that's great. I think those you've gone for this kit, you can definitely leave those on there so you don't have to cut those by hand. Let's see, anything else? Yeah, I mean, I think that's it. So, I mean, that went really well. It was a really long video. Hopefully you guys found some stuff that was helpful in there. If you did, please give a thumbs up, subscribe, and we'll see you guys on the next one.